Just ahead, let's get to the right spot. Just ahead, an Eastern Kentucky hospital is in dire need of some help. Either they find some financial stability or it could close. And Kentucky Senator Mitch McConnell gets harsh criticism over a shirt being sold to fundraise his re-election campaign. Plus, a legal loophole has left people frustrated over a petition nobody is legally allowed to sign.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. It is 6:32 on this Friday, and it is a Friday. At last. It's also May the 10th. I am also Will Puckett, and you're watching Mountain News This Morning, and we appreciate it. We expected rain yesterday. Some people may have gotten a little bit of it, but most of us stayed in the clear. Today, you should go most of the day without seeing any rain until the later evening hours, but I don't get paid to give you that information. Brandon does. So let's bring him in this morning. Brandon, good morning.
Good morning, and yes, thank goodness. Listen, this forecast brought to you by the letters T, G, I, and F.
Capital, bold,
Capital,
italicized,
bold.
all the whole 9 yards.
Jesus, take the wheel. All right, let's get into it this morning as we head out the door. We're having trouble, that's for sure. Look at McKee. You see the camera over there looking pretty dry this morning. As Will said, some spots got some rain last night, but the cold front kind of fell apart when it came to moisture as it's moving into the state. Not a whole lot going on this morning across our area on Doppler. You see temperatures there, 57 in Middlesboro to 68 in Logan. Everybody else kind of falling in between. Forecast today, 76, mainly cloudy, but some sunshine at times, and an isolated chance for a shower during the day. It's tonight when things pick back up. I'll have more of that forecast coming up here in just a few minutes. Will?
All righty, Brandon. Thank you, sir. Well, it was about 1 month ago when City of Martin officials approved an annexation proposal expressing their intent to annex more than 600 acres of state highways surrounding the city. Now, a 60-day window has been opened where people living in the proposed areas can sign a petition to force the proposal onto the November ballot. But there is a problem with that. As WYMT's Justin Case learned, when talking with the county clerk, no one living along the proposed areas is legally allowed to sign the petition.
Floyd County Clerk Chris Waugh says no registered voters live on or own the roadways. That means no one is legally allowed to sign the petition opposing the current ordinance.
Neither one of them would qualify under that petition. And so in just taking in the road, no, there wouldn't be anything that, any petition that would validate going on a ballot because there isn't anybody to vote on it.
He says the city of Prestonsburg once tried to annex Highlands Regional Medical Center. When two people moved into the hospital, they became eligible to petition. Waugh says the same can be done with local businesses if the city of Martin attempts to annex those properties.
I actually went out there to verify it, and I seen right there, I seen where they lived at, had all their stuff in there, so they was there, and they did vote, and it killed the annexation.
At least 50% of the registered voters or property owners have to sign the petition to force the issue on the November ballot. Waugh says the challenge can be determining the total number before you can determine what 50% is.
It's extremely hard for a county clerk to be able to have to go into an area, especially if it became an extremely large area, to be able to have to go in there and find out who all these property owners are, who all the resident voters are who live in that area, in order to get to that number of 50%.
People who own businesses along the proposed areas have already said they are prepared to move into their businesses so they can oppose annexation. Others are preparing to take their message of opposition door to door.
We're going to put a campaign out there to show the people what it actually costs them to live in the city of Martin.
If the city of Martin annexes the businesses along the roadways, it would add new taxes to all the businesses. Terry Thornsbury says he is prepared to fight that by any means necessary.
And we will petition to do away with the city of Martin if it goes to ballot.
Many waiting anxiously to see how city officials will move forward.
And that was Justin Case reporting. City officials have said annexing the roadways alone does not benefit the city of Martin. They say the only benefit they could see is a financial one if they choose to move forward with annexing the businesses along the state highways. City officials in Pikeville called an emergency meeting to discuss the future of the local hospital. City officials called, if I said Pikeville, I meant Pineville. Let me correct that. City officials called an emergency meeting on Wednesday night to discuss the condition of the hospital on Thursday morning at the City Hall. During the meeting, Mayor Scott Maiden says employee numbers are dwindling after having multiple issues with being paid, which then leaves the hospital understaffed, creating a hazardous environment for patients.
We're to that final wire. We don't have weeks and we don't have days. We have hours. I mean, and that's why I called the emergency meeting today. We're at the hour point. We don't have a lot of time.
Again, this is in Pineville. We asked the hospital for an interview and they did not want to comment. Well, Buckhorn Lake State Resort Park will soon sell alcohol. In this coin flip last November, it was determined the lodge would sell alcohol, beer, wine, and liquor by the drink. Some were up in arms in Buckhorn, while others rejoiced the move, expecting it to bring more business to the struggling park. Mayor Tom Burns is skeptical, but knows this is a move not to change a way of life, but to try to preserve a struggling gem.
I could really understand where they were coming from too, because of the concern that we all have about the future of the lodge.
Alcohol sales are expected to be fully up and running by Memorial Day weekend. At 12:01 a.m. this morning, the Trump administration raised tariffs on $200 billion worth of goods from China, from 10% to 25%. The move took U.S. businesses by surprise. There was just 5 days' notice about the sudden rise in penalties. Minutes after the new tariffs went into effect, Beijing commented, expressing regret and threatening countermeasures. Markets in Asia dropped following China's response. Well, for the second time in less than a week, North Korea fired off short-range missiles. They are the first launched by the communist nation in more than a year. The short-range ballistic missiles lifted off near Pyongyang and splashed down in the Sea of Japan. South Korean President Moon Jae-in says the tests are likely in reaction to the failed Hanoi summit between Kim Jong-un and President Trump. But President Trump was still optimistic, tweeting, quote, Kim, quote, knows that I am with him. Deal will happen. A later statement was less enthusiastic.
The relationship continues, but we'll see what happens. I know they want to negotiate. They're talking about negotiating, but I don't think they're ready to negotiate.
Experts say the missile was identical to the one the North launched on Saturday. Based on how far they traveled, they do not represent a new threat. President Trump has made health care a top political issue this time around. He is sending a set of principles to Congress on Thursday that aims to end patients' responsibility for big medical bills when they are unknowingly treated by out-of-network doctors or hospitals. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are trying to address the problem, but have been blocked by healthcare industry groups. State officials have passed laws to protect consumers, but they don't have authority over many insurance plans offered by large employers, which are regulated on the federal level. Now, President Trump is also planning to nominate Acting Defense Secretary Patrick Shanahan to permanently occupy that position. That is according to a tweet from White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders. Former Defense Secretary James Mattis resigned in December over policy differences with President Trump, especially the president's initial decision to pull U.S. troops out of Syria. Shanahan took over in an acting capacity when Mattis left. He says he's now ready to take the helm permanently. A new shirt raising money for Senator Mitch McConnell's re-election campaign is causing controversy online. Here's a look at said shirt. It shows a faceless figure with cocaine and underneath reads Mitch. On the back it reads cartel member. In a tweet, Team Mitch says it broke a single-day online fundraising record. The shirts appear to be in response to former coal executive Don Blankenship, who referred to the senator as Cocaine Mitch. In a response, Senator McConnell's campaign says no one has done more in Congress to fight drug addiction. It goes on to say, quote, the irony of the nickname is part of what makes it so funny to so many Kentuckians. Well, it's 6:40. Let's toss it over to Brandon over on the weather wall for a look at your Friday forecast.
Cloudy skies for most folks this morning, Will, and we're going to continue to see that for much of the region for much of the day. But some peaks of sunshine, not out of their own possibility. Live pinpoint Doppler radar scanning clear skies this morning for the most part. Again, a stray shower up near the I-64 corridor near Ashland this morning. 57 Middlesboro, 67 Prestonsburg, 68 Logan, 65 in London, and 61 here in Hazard. So again, kind of a 60-degree type morning there. Out the door forecast for you as we go through time. Up to 76 today. Again, could we see an isolated shower? Absolutely. Could we see some sunshine? Absolutely. But again, I think the bulk of the rain holds off until later tonight. Will?
All righty, Brandon, we appreciate it. Now we will have stories that are trending on WYMT.com next. As always, thank you for joining us right here on Mountain News this morning. But first, we will also take a look back at the impact of an Eastern Kentucky country star 30 years after his death.